So I want you to stop and think about your week for a minute with the same alarm, same route, same people, same everything. And I'm going somewhere with this because I got two comments on my most popular video that made me think, and I could not let them go without a real response. And not because they were wrong to share them, but because I think what they said about cruise ships is actually a perfect description of the life most people are already living on land. And nobody is calling that a problem. So today, we're going to hold both of those things up to the light. And by the end of this video, I think you're going to see something you have not let yourself see before. So stay with me. Here is where we are going today. I am going to read both comments in full because every concern they raise deserves a real answer. Then I'm going to walk you through what life on land actually looks like when you are honest about it. Then I am going to show you what cruise ship living actually offers because some of what they say is based on vacation cruising, not living. And then we're going to talk about what is really underneath all of it because it's not about the food and it's not really about the friends. A quick note before we get started. I am not a travel advisor, a nutritionist, or lifestyle coach. Everything I share comes from personal research and nearly a decade of cruise experience and paying close attention to how people actually live this life. This is my perspective. Do your own research and build the plan that fits you. So let's get started. All right, so let me read both of these comments exactly as they are written because I want you to hear every word. So the first one said, I would not live on a cruise ship and eat the same crappy food every day, see the same faces for a week or two in rotation, seeing the same places every day. That will become a jail for me after a few months. I want to cook and bake the foods I love and be free to do the things I love. And then the second one said, I think I would hate the fact that I couldn't really make any friends. Anybody you meet will leave at the end of the cruise. Also, I think I would get tired of going to the same cruise ports over and over again. At some point, you have to admit that you will run out of new ports to visit. But if you can get past those two things, I think it would be cheaper than apartment living. All right, okay. I hear both of you. And I want you to know I take every single one of those concerns seriously. Same food, same places, same faces, no lasting friendships, running out of ports, feeling trapped. We are addressing all of it, every single point. So let's go. So I want to start with the comment about eating the same food, seeing the same faces, and going to the same places every day. Because I need you to think about your week, your actual week, not them highlight reels, the real one. Okay, so you wake up at the same time, you take the same route to work, the same roads, the same turns, and the same traffic. You walk in the same building, sitting near the same people, and do a version of the same task you did last Tuesday and the Tuesday before that. You go to lunch, and if you're being honest, you rotate between the same 3 or 4 restaurants. You have the same sandwich, the same salad, the same drinks. You order the same order you have been placing for 2 years because it's just easier. And then you come home the same way. You make the same dinner from a mental rotation of maybe 10 meals you actually cook on a regular basis. You watch your same shows and you go to bed. And then you do it again. And the people around you, your coworkers, your neighbors, the familiar faces at the grocery store, some of them you genuinely love, and some of them wouldn't choose them if you had a choice. But they are there every day because that is just how it is. And I'm not saying this to be harsh. I am saying this because we have normalized a level of repetition on land that we would never accept anywhere else. But the moment someone mentions cruise ship living, suddenly the same food and the same faces become a deal breaker. It's worth thinking about. But we are creatures of habit, all of us. Now, let me address the specifics because Some of what was said in the comments is based on what cruising looks like as a vacation, and living on a cruise ship and doing extended back to back cruises is a completely different experience. So let's start with the food. Major cruise lines have multiple restaurants on board, not one cafeteria, multiple dining options ranging from casual to upscale with menus that rotate. They have specialty restaurants, international cuisines, buffets with hundreds of options, room service, grab and go spots, dessert bars, coffee shop. The variety on a single ship is more than what most people have in their own neighborhood. And when you do back to back cruises on different lines, you are not just changing ships, you're changing the whole entire dining experience. Royal Caribbean, it has a completely different dining culture than Norwegian, and MSC is different from Carnival, and Celebrity is different from all of them. But each line has its own culinary identity, its own specialty restaurant, its own chefs. If food variety matters to you, back to back cruising across multiple lines gives you more variety than most people experience in a year eating locally. Now, let's talk about destinations. The idea that you would see the same places every day is not even how extended cruises work. Ships move. That's the whole point. You wake up in a different port, you explore a different city, a different culture, a different coastline, and then you sail overnight while you sleep and wake up somewhere new. The itineraries vary, the regions vary. You can spend months cruising the Caribbean, then pivot to the Mediterranean and do a transatlantic crossing. The world is the itinerary. And the activities on board, they change too. You got shows, events, um, classes, excursions at every port. You got the cooking classes, dance lessons, trivia nights, um, live music, fitness classes, art auction, wine tasting. You could be on a ship for months and not repeat an onboard activity if you didn't want to. Now, I'll be fair. If you genuinely love cooking your own meals at home, that part is real. Extended cruise living does mean that you're not cooking in your own kitchen every night. And for some people, that's a loss. For me, not having a planned shop cooking clean after every meal is a benefit. But I understand that's personal. That is a real consideration, and you get to weigh in on it for yourself. A tool that actually helps you think through all of this, Ultimate Cruise Checklist, is fully interactive and works on any device. It's built for planning, not just streaming. The link is in the description, so grab it and start mapping out what this could actually look like for you. Okay, now let's talk about the friends comment, because this one right here, I really want to dig into. The comment said, I think I would hate that I couldn't really make friends. Anybody you meet will leave at the end of the cruise. And I understand the logic, but I want to offer you a completely different way of looking at this. First, the people you meet on a cruise ship are not strangers passing through. They're people who chose to be there, people who value travel and adventure and new experiences, people who are curious about the world. That is already more in common than you have with most of the people you see every day at the office. And yes, a cruise ends, people go home, but here's what changes when you have time and location freedom. You can actually go see them. Think about that for a second. When your life is not locked into one city, one zip code, to one job location, the whole concept of friendship expands. You meet someone from London on a cruise to the Greek islands and you stay in touch. 6 months later, you're in London. You have someone to call, someone that knows the spots the tourists never find, someone who is genuinely happy to see you because you made the effort. And I'm not collecting 2 week cruise friends. I'm building a global network of real people that actually shared experience with. That is a different kind of rich. And within the extended cruise community, within the back to back cruise world, there are people who do this regularly. You start to see the same faces across different ships. Cruising communities from online. Group sailings happen, Facebook groups, cruise forums, travel communities. The people who live this life are not lonely. They are some of the most connected people I have encountered because they choose connection intentionally instead of accepting whoever happens to be nearby. On land, how many of your friendships are truly chosen? How many are just a result of proximity? You went to the same school, you work at the same job, you live in the same neighborhood. Convenient friendships are not bad, but they are not the same as building relationship with people who share your actual values and your vision for life. So when you live freely, you attract people who also live freely. And those friendships tends to go deep fast because you both showing up as the full versions of yourself. With both of those commenters and anyone watching who felt a little seen by either of those comments, the concern about food and routine and familiar faces is not really about cruise ships. It's about familiarity. It is about the comfort of knowing exactly what to expect. And that is human, deeply, completely human. But familiarity is not the same as happiness, and comfort is not the same as freedom. So a lot of people are not happy in their routines. They are just comfortable with them. And there's a difference. One feels like home and the other feels like lesser is. And the concern about friendship not lasting, that is a fear of loss, a fear of investing in something that feels temporary. And that is real and worth acknowledging. But here's the truth, everything is temporary. Coworkers move on, neighbors move away, friendships from your 20s fade, people change. That happens on land too. So the question is not how do I avoid temporary? The question is how do I make the connections I have meaningful while I have them? And I want to go back to something the second commenter said at the end of their at the end of her comment. She said, "But if you can get past those two things, I think it would be cheaper than apartment living." She did her own math. She already knows it could work, but then she listed reasons she could not see herself doing it. And I say that with so much love because I understand exactly what that is. That is not a logistic problem. That is a belief problem. That is a voice that says, this sounds good, but it is probably not for someone like me. And that voice is the real thing we need to talk about. The real fear underneath both of these comments is change. The fear that a different life might require different versions of you. And that version of you might not fit the story you have been telling about who you are and what you are allowed to want. That is the work, not the cruise booking, not the itinerary research, the internal work of deciding you are willing to find out who you become when you stop letting fear make the choices for you. Okay, so let me bring this home. So, to the person who said cruise ship food is repetitive and the faces are the same, I see you. And I gently ask you to look at your calendar from the last month and count how many new restaurants you tried, how many new people you met, and how many new places you actually went. Because repetition is not a cruise ship problem, it is a comfort zone problem. And the cruise ship is actually one of the most efficient ways I know to break it. And to the person who said that friendships don't last and ports run out, I hear you. And I offer you this. When you have time freedom and location freedom, friendships do not have to end just because a cruise does. You get to go find those people. You get to build a life where connection is something you pursue on purpose, not just something that happens to you by default. And the world has more ports than you will ever run out of. That part, I promise you. Now, I'm here to tell you cruise ship living is right for everyone. It is not. But I am here to tell you that the objections people raise about it almost always says more about the life they are currently living than the one they are considering. And if this made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment and tell me which concerns from today's video hit closest to home for you. because I want to know where you are in all of this. And if you're ready to move from thinking about cruise life to actually planning it, my Ultimate Cruise Checklist is linked in the description. It opens like an app on your phone, works across every device, and walks you through everything you need to think about before you step on that ship. It's built for the person who is done waiting and ready to move. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.